All right, let's dive into a story where the idea of family obligation goes head-to-head with self-preservation. And it all kicks off because of one single, absolutely shocking demand for money.
And it really brings us to a question that I think a lot of us have faced, even if it's not quite this dramatic. When does helping your family cross that line and start, hurting you?
So, our story begins with a woman named Blair. She's 29, she just came through an absolutely grueling period at work, and she actually has something to show for it. But what should have been a moment of celebration, well, it turned into something else entirely.
So picture this. Blair's at a family dinner. She is exhausted, but she's also really proud. And she casually mentions she got this bonus. She's not trying to brag or anything. It's more like a deep sigh of relief. You know that feeling when a huge project is finally over? It was just her way of saying, phew, all that hard work actually paid off.
And just like that, bam, the entire celebratory mood just shatters. Before a single person can even say congratulations, her sister declares that Blair should give her half of it. It wasn't a request, it was an invoice. And the justification? Simply because she had kids, as if that was some undeniable law of physics.
So when Blair kind of hesitates, probably waiting for someone to laugh and say it's a joke, the entire family turns on her. Her own father, annoyed that she didn't just immediately agree, snaps at her that she only thinks about herself. In an instant, she went from the successful, hardworking daughter to the selfish one. A tough lesson to learn, right? Sometimes family can punish you just for saying no.
Now, Blair didn't scream or argue back. She responded to this emotional ambush with quiet, calculated logic. But her family? Oh, they responded by launching a full-scale guilt trip campaign.
Her reaction was immediate and honestly brilliant. We're talking within 20 minutes of getting home, she made these 5 strategic moves. This wasn't just about moving money around. This was about building a financial fortress. She understood that setting a boundary isn't cruel. It's about keeping yourself safe. And she saw this for what it was, not a simple request, but a dangerous escalation. And that escalation came fast. The first text she gets from her sister isn't an apology. It's a photo of her nephew. The message was screaming loud and clear. If you say no to me, you're hurting these innocent kids. It's a classic and pretty powerful manipulation tool, isn't it? Wrapping guilt up and pretending it's love.
When the cute kid photo didn't work, the pressure got even more intense. The whole story shifted to make Blair the source of her parents' misery. The goal was to completely isolate her, to make her feel responsible for everyone else's emotions.
Okay, and this is where the story takes a really critical turn. This is the moment the family's pressure campaign crosses a very, very serious line. We're moving away from just uncomfortable family drama and into the territory of an actual crime. Then Blair gets this text from her sister. And it's not a guilt trip anymore. It feels like a direct threat. That line, "You can't hide behind passwords forever." I mean, that would send a chill down anyone's spine. It sounded less like an insult and way more like a promise.
And then, there it was, the proof. A notification from her credit monitoring app. Somebody had tried to open a new line of credit in her name. And because of those quick actions she took right after dinner, the attempt failed. Turns out she wasn't being paranoid at all. She was just being smart.
So, of course, this all leads to the inevitable climax, a face-to-face showdown. Her sister just shows up at her apartment, and all those newfound boundaries Blair has set are about to be tested in the most direct way you can imagine.
And this confrontation really just laid bare 2 completely separate realities. Her sister's world was just built on this idea of entitlement and emotional leverage. But Blair's world, it was now built on personal responsibility and self-respect. And her statement, loving someone doesn't mean draining them, well, that became the bedrock of her new world.
And then comes the chilling confirmation. Her sister leans in, her voice drops to a whisper, and she says, "You froze your credit, didn't you?" And it's not really a question, it's a confession. She was the one behind the fraud attempt, and she feels completely justified. That final line, "You can't stop family," is just a terrifying look into her belief system.
After a confrontation like that, Blair realizes that boundaries just aren't enough when someone is that determined to knock them down. The only solution is distance. So this next phase is all about her decision to completely and totally disentangle her life from all this toxicity.
And she doesn't make a big scene about it. She just makes a plan. Quietly, efficiently, she arranges to move all the way from Dallas to Boise, Idaho. It's a physical reset that's designed to finally create some space for an emotional one. And get this,
Even after Blair reports the identity theft attempt, her family's concern isn't for her safety or for the fact that she was violated. Her father's text is a command: fix it. In his mind, the real problem wasn't the crime itself, but the inconvenience of it being reported. Just unbelievable.
So what happens when the family's designated ATM and problem solver is finally out of the picture? This final section is all about the fallout and the true cost of the choices that everyone made.
And the outcomes are so stark. Blair, by choosing herself, finds peace and builds a healthy new life. Her sister, now unable to escape the consequences of her actions, watches her own life kind of unravel. And the parents, the ones who enabled this whole dynamic, well, now they're left holding the financial and emotional bag, and they're still blaming Blair for refusing to carry it for them.
But months later, there's this little flicker of something new. A chance meeting in a grocery store. And for the very first time, her sister offers a genuine, simple apology. No strings attached, no sub-story, no demands. Just, I'm sorry.
So, what does this whole intense story teach us? The lessons are really powerful because they're pretty universal. It shows us that setting boundaries doesn't make you a cruel person, it makes you a safe person. It's a reminder that helping isn't love when it's demanded, and that guilt is not the same thing as gratitude. But most of all, it affirms that real love, real family, doesn't punish you for saying no. It doesn't require you to shrink yourself down so that someone else can stay comfortable.
And that leaves us with one final thought. Blair's story is definitely extreme, but the principle behind it aren't. It kind of forces us to ask ourselves, in our own lives, with our own pressures, what is the one boundary we need to set to protect our own peace?